ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We're going to begin tonight with Americans still missing in Southeast Asia and a case of fraud. We have discovered in recent polls that 70% of Americans continue to believe that some American servicemen who fought in the Vietnam War are still being held captive. This despite the fact that in the 19 years since the war ended, not one soldier missing in action has been found alive. Now, the fraud. Last summer, a number of pictures turned up purportedly showing American MIAs. Each was painstakingly checked out and found to be fraudulent, except one. Tonight, the story of that one. Here's ABC's James Walker.
This was the photograph that excited so many Americans. Army Special Forces Major Donald Carr, missing since 1971, apparently alive and held captive in a prison camp in Laos. The man in the picture looks so much like the Donald Carr of 20 years ago, his family thought it was proof positive.
My brother, and I don't care what anybody says, is alive. We have the proof.
It seemed so convincing in Washington that Defense Secretary Cheney promised action, and senators voted to form a special committee to look into the POW issue.
It galvanized many Americans, millions, on behalf of the Carr family to bring an American home.
The photograph of Donald Carr was supplied by retired Air Force Colonel Jack Bailey, a self-described POW hunter based in Thailand for the last 25 years. Bailey says he obtained the Carr photo in 1989.
I know damn well it's real.
How did Bailey get the Carr photograph in the first place? Bailey claimed he got a tip that a live American POW was being held in Laos. To try to prove it, Bailey said he bought a greenish-blue sports shirt and a watch and gave them to an unidentified man he called Mr. X. Mr. X was told to travel to the prison camp and photograph Carr wearing the clothes. Several weeks later, Bailey said he received 2 rolls of film from Mr. X and had them developed.
These are pictures of Donald Carr, Captain Butch Carr, the area to where he's being held, Jim, being held
in Laos.
In Laos, in the prison camp in Laos, by the North Vietnamese.
Tell us what is happening here with this.
Mr. X is giving an envelope here to the Lieutenant Colonel, the North Vietnamese Colonel. This is a Pathy Lao Major here. That is the camp commander. And then this is the North Vietnamese Colonel again.
But was he really? ABC News set out to track the exact location where the photographs were taken. But the trail, instead of leading to a POW camp in Laos, led here to a one-time exotic bird export company outside Bangkok.
Hi,
I'm James Walker with ABC News. The owner is Kampong Prantham. We gave Kampong Bailey's photo album and asked if he was familiar with the pictures supposedly taken in Laos. This is the photograph Bailey said showed Mr. X giving an envelope to the North Vietnamese camp commander.
I know this man also.
You know both of these men?
Yes.
Is he Vietnamese?
No,
The man on the left, the man on Thai.
He's also Thai.
The man on the right is?
Thai. Yes. This is my house.
Where was this picture taken?
Here.
In your house?
My house.
This gentleman here, you know this man.
This my friend.
What is his name?
Mr. Gunther District.
This is Gunther Dietrich.
Yes.
How long have you known him?
Over 6 years now.
And where is Gunther Dietrich now?
Now I think he is in Germany.
In Germany?
Yes.
Dietrich is also well known to various law enforcement agencies. New Zealand customs officials took these undercover pictures of him last year as he tried to smuggle parrots out of the country. We asked Jack Bailey to visit the bird compound with us. When confronted with the evidence that the man supposed to be Carr was actually Dietrich, Bailey became enraged.
But don't part of this goddamn thing is being a conspiracy. I'll break your neck.
Because it's not your fault.
Yeah, wait.
This man's fault. No. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. Come on.
Please, get her out of my way.
Later, when Bailey cooled down, he claimed he had been duped by Mr. X. But the release of POW photographs has stimulated contributions to organizations such as Bailey's Operation Rescue, which has earned more than $3 million in the past 8 years. U.S. Senator John McCain, himself a former POW, thinks Bailey ought to be investigated by the Justice Department.
Because if the family members are being deceived, not only monetarily, but emotionally, then this kind of thing has to be brought to a stop.
But it may be hard to bring it to a stop as long as so many Americans believe U.S. servicemen are still held prisoner in Southeast Asia, and as long as there are con artists who take advantage of families like that of Donald Carr. James Walker, ABC News, Bangkok.
And another reason why this does concern so many people, 1,172 Americans are still officially listed as missing in action in Southeast Asia. In a moment, presidential politics and the latest buzzword, electability. On the American agenda tonight, teaching Minnesota students about sexual harassment. And Bowman the showman at the Olympics in France.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Dimetapp.
A cold always starts small, but before you know it, your cold is full grown. That's when you need Dimetapp. If it was any stronger, you'd need a prescription. Dimetapp Extend tabs work for 12 full hours. It's the way to relieve the congestion and sneezing of a full-grown cold. Maximum strength Dimetapp Extend tabs. Relief for the full-grown cold. And for colds and flu with fever, now there's Dimetapp Cold and Flu.
You know, if you drink a lot of fruit juice...
And apparently you do.
That's my point. Sunsweet prune juice makes a really delicious change of pace from these other juices.
Oh, you mean there are people who still haven't tried Sunsweet prune juice?
Hard to believe with my charisma.
You're gonna grill it so you can hear it, so you can see it, so you can smell it. It's gonna be like the best thing you ever ate in your life. Wait, it's not done. No, it's done.
A1, it's how burgers are done.
There is a decision from the White House this evening that suggests they are taking very seriously there the latest scientific concerns about the ozone layer, which protects us from the sun's ultraviolet rays. The White House has announced that the U.S. will unilaterally phase out by 1995 most of the chemicals called CFCs. They're the chemicals blamed for the holes developing in the ozone layer. That's also 5 years sooner than the U.S. had previously planned to phase them out. In politics, the first test of the presidential campaign was no contest. Senator Tom Harkin is the winner in the Iowa Democratic caucuses with about 80% of the vote. The other Democratic candidates did not put up much of a fight. Iowa is Senator Harkin's home state. The real opening round this year is the New Hampshire primary a week from today. On top of all the comments we're hearing from voters in New Hampshire on where the candidates stand on various issues, we're also hearing from those who intend to vote for a Democrat about a very basic concern called electability. ABC's Jim Wooten considers the question tonight from Manchester, New Hampshire.
But I need your help now. Thank you very much.
Not long ago, a lot of optimistic Democrats saw Bill Clinton as the party's shining knight, just the fellow to take back the White House. And that perception alone was a good part of his popularity. He looked like a guy who could win. These days, though, Clinton makes the argument that he's still the best Democrat precisely because he's had a lot of practice answering all those questions about his past.
I was reelected 5 times to run things in tough times with no help by good people who heard all this stuff. I mean, if you're looking for somebody that's already been tested, you ought to go with me.
He may still be the one, but challenging his electability has now become the name of the game in New Hampshire.
You feel that your campaign may be helped by Governor Clinton's latest problem, namely...
What's the latest one?
Right off the plane from Iowa this morning, Senator Harkin was full of electability and mixed metaphors.
Yeah, I think now the electability is sort of turned around on its head. That other fellow that kept talking about electability looks like he got hung on his own sword on that one.
Like Harkin, Senator Kerrey is still pretty far back in the polls in New Hampshire, but he knows what's going on.
And my hope is that the people of New Hampshire do focus on this issue of electability and understand that we've got to put somebody up against George Bush who can take it to him down the line.
Meaning him, of course. Certainly not this fellow. The new New Hampshire frontrunner, Paul Tsongas, a laconic candidate and proud of it.
Do you concur in those folks who say you lack charisma?
Well, I intend to make the lack of charisma the chic phenomenon of 1992.
All jokes aside, you can see the Democrats' problem. They're worried that if Clinton is damaged goods and wins the nomination anyway, the president could have yet another vulnerable target. But without Clinton, the Democrats could wind up with one of the other candidates who not long ago was seen as unelectable. Jim Wooten, ABC News, Manchester, New Hampshire.
All the Democratic candidates were working New Hampshire today. One candidate who created a good deal of excitement among Democrats when he first entered the race is Senator Bob Kerrey of Nebraska. The conventional wisdom was he had just the right image for a run at President Bush. ABC's Judy Muller went along to see how he's doing.
Even though he lags in the polls, Bob Kerrey insists the race in New Hampshire is wide open, but it will be difficult. Kerrey must first catch up with his own resume. By now, everyone in New Hampshire should know that Kerrey is a war hero who lost a leg in Vietnam, won the Congressional Medal of Honor, and went on to succeed in business and politics. Certainly on paper, Kerrey's bio reads like the ideal candidate, but in person, he is not so easily defined. Even his story of recovering at a veterans hospital resonates with the ambivalence of the Vietnam generation.
I know that this government can do good. It did good for me in 1969. It is fair to say that it almost killed me just ahead of that.
But if Kerrey often sounds ambivalent, so do the people who listen to him.
If Kerrey got rolling, he'd be tough to stop. I'm not sure that's going to happen, though.
Throughout this campaign, Kerrey has often sounded like a single-issue candidate.
I'm also fighting, as you may have heard, for national health insurance. Sometimes talk about it a bit more than I should. My proposal says simply that if you lose your job, you don't lose your health care.
Even though Kerrey has been hitting on that theme for weeks, it is sometimes a tough sell, even when talking to amputees at a rehab center.
So you're talking socialized medicine?
No, I'm not talking socialized medicine.
If Kerry's health plan strikes some voters as too liberal, his more conservative proposals for dealing with the recession seem to strike a chord in voters trying to make ends meet. At a diner in East Hampstead yesterday, Kerrey got an earful.
It takes me 2 weeks to what I used to make at 1 week.
Kerry's remedy, a middle-class tax break and a get-tough trade policy.
My answer to the fan is I'd say to him, if you're going to sell into our market, you got to let us sell into yours. Otherwise, you'll sell it someplace else.
Even when reaction is lukewarm, Kerrey clearly enjoys one-on-ones with voters. But he has been criticized for failing to connect with larger audiences. It is a criticism that makes him bristle.
This is not about Bob Kerrey connecting. This is about where's America going.
But if Kerrey wants to be the one to lead America where it's going, he will first have to win support here in New Hampshire, whether he calls it connecting or something else. Judy Muller, ABC News, Manchester.
On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials gained 6.5 points to close at 32.51, and the trading was heavy. In our next segment, Mike Tyson, after the guilty verdict.
Things are different. The all-new Grand Am Sports Sedan proves it. Things are better because inside and out, the Grand Am's equipped to perform. And it even gives you better mileage than a Accord or Camry for a whole lot less. In fact, Consumers Digest named the Grand Am a Best Buy. Pontiac's new Grand Am. A new kind of excitement.
Know where I am? I'm at one of the finest resorts in the world. And if you're looking for a great vacation value, look no more. All your daytime fun, all your nighttime entertainment, and all your food is included in one low price. But what makes this resort really great is that it takes you to some of the world's other great vacation spots.
In the morning, in the evening, Carnival's got the fun.
Fun. That's what makes Carnival the most popular cruise line in the world.
They ate the same lunch, got the same heartburn, but his antacid is very different. His Tums has calcium. Most antacids don't. Regular Rolaids uses an aluminum salt. This uses aluminum and magnesium. So does this. Of all these, only Tums helps wipe out heartburn and gives you calcium you need every day.
Something my body needs anyway. I like that.
Calcium-rich Tums. That's the one you want.
In London today, the Irish Republican Army planted another bomb, this one in a phone booth near the British Foreign Office. Just hours before Vice President Dan Quayle was due to be there, police found the bomb and defused it before it went off. The Supreme Court has given the Bush administration until Friday to respond to charges that some of the Haitian refugees who've been sent back to Haiti have been persecuted, tortured, or killed. Meanwhile, the administration may continue sending them home. On the morning after he was convicted of rape, Mike Tyson returned to the courthouse in Indianapolis to talk to the authorities about his future. It is the first step of a routine followed by every convicted felon. Here's ABC's Jim Hickey.
Ignoring the shouts from fans and reporters, Tyson was led to a probation office to be interviewed. Investigators will give the judge information on Tyson's background to help determine his sentence.
Each of his 3 guilty verdicts carries a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison. Prosecutors say Tyson will probably serve them at the same time, and some lawyers predict he won't get the maximum sentence.
Realistically, I could think we can expect this judge to sentence him to something between 10 and 12 years.
With time off for good behavior, he could be paroled in half that time. Tyson was convicted because jurors say they did not buy the defense argument that he was such a rough character, his victim should have known better than to go out with him.
I personally thought that she was under the impression she was going out to have fun.
I think that the accusing witness made for a very good case and had a very credible testimony.
According to World Boxing Council rules, Tyson could continue to box if he remains free while appealing his conviction. But it is up to individual states whether to license his fights. While Tyson faces the likelihood of prison, his 18-year-old victim now tries to put it all behind her. She flew home from Indianapolis today, saying that maybe she'll be ready to talk about it in public in about a week. Jim Hickey, ABC News, Indianapolis.
When we come back, tonight's American agenda, trying to prevent sexual harassment, beginning with the children.
My dad had ulcers, so when my stomach started acting up, I was afraid to go to the doctor. But finally, I went. Was I relieved when my doctor said Mylanta? He said it was indigestion, not an ulcer, and my kind of indigestion called for a strong medicine.
Mylanta is strong medicine, strongly recommended. In fact, Mylanta is the antacid doctors recommend most.
My doctor said Mylanta.
This is dedicated to the one I love.
Deep in the cold heart of winter, you can make it warm. This Valentine's Day, remember them all with an 800 call. It's AT&T. Fast, convenient, and free. Call if you need an 800 number for flowers or candy or anything dandy.
This is dedicated to the one I love.
On the American agenda tonight, we concentrate on the crimes that men commit against women. The case of Mike Tyson focuses much of the nation's attention again on the subject of rape, which is the ultimate form of sexual harassment. We've put this on the agenda tonight in order to look more closely at how often boys often learn at a very early age that they can harass girls and get away with it, which means that boys need to be taught differently. Our agenda reporter is Carol Simpson.
Jill Olson said it began when she was in 8th grade. The name-calling, the taunts, and unwelcome touching from boys in school. She says, like most girls, she put up with it.
I myself didn't speak out a whole lot when it would come to comments, because the few times that I did, it was like the whole classroom against me.
But when she was a senior at her Chaska, Minnesota high school, some male students circulated a sexually offensive list of 25 girls' names.
And after each girl's name, there was a short paragraph, few sentences, I guess, to a paragraph, explaining how they are. And it was very vulgar, lewd comments about these girls, including myself.
When school officials dismissed her complaint, Jill went to the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. Last fall, the state ruled that Jill's school had violated state laws prohibiting sexual harassment.
We've had a case in Chaska.
Minnesota is one of the few states which is vigorously enforcing its laws against sexual harassment in schools. The man behind the 3-year-old effort is Attorney General Hubert H. Humphrey III. Humphrey believes sexual harassment can lead to sexual violence against women.
If we don't talk, it's going to happen again and again and again, and the victims are going to be there, and the victims are real, and it really hurts.
Kenny, I said no.
He visits high schools, speaking and playing a videotape on date rape.
If we just wait until an event occurs, till a tragedy of rape or harassment occurs, then the damage is already done. We have to get in front of the problem.
Beyond the law making sexual harassment illegal in schools, Minnesota's program includes in-service training for teachers and principals, student education, and a mandatory policy in every school district. It's prominently displayed here at Stillwater High School, and it warns that after an investigation, any student or staff member found guilty of sexual harassment will be subject to reprimand, suspension, or immediate discharge. The state felt such policies were necessary after half the high school girls in Minnesota said in a survey they had been verbally or physically harassed.
The guys are lined up along the balcony, and you walk by and they say, they say things, and sometimes they grab you.
What kinds of things might they say?
Like, ooh, look at those jugs, ooh, look at this, look at that. And you may laugh or something because you're nervous and people are looking at you and stuff, but it does bother you and affects your self-esteem.
Interviewed separately, high school boys say girls should understand.
I guess it's a man thing that when a girl has on something revealing, you have to say something about it or just look at it at least.
I'm not telling the guys that this really offends me. No, the girls don't say that.
You think they should?
Well, if the girl doesn't tell us that we're sexually harassing her, we're going to continue to do it.
In some schools, discussions of what constitutes sexual harassment are part of the high school curriculum.
What are you doing to change things?
Now people are realizing that they don't have to put up with what the kids are doing to each other.
School officials are moving aggressively on other fronts. In Minneapolis last week, 300 high school principals gathered at a workshop to learn to recognize sexual harassment.
You creep, I hate you!
Actors played out scenarios of harassment for the principals, and lawyers explained their liability.
CEOs get sued, principals get sued.
Based on their experience with high school boys, Minnesota officials now believe they must start earlier if they are to keep boys from growing up insensitive to the harm sexual harassment causes women. They are starting programs in the elementary and junior high schools. It's there, they say, the behavior begins. The behavior boys think is fun that girls don't think is fun at all. Carol Simpson, ABC News, Minneapolis.
On the American agenda. We'll be back in just a moment.
There's constipation and there's constipation. Oh, yeah. When it's this bad, take it to the max. New Maximum Relief Formula X-Lax pills with 50% more X-Lax medicine for maximum relief. Oh, yeah. Take it to the max.
The guy in the new Infiniti just discovered something about his car and about himself. He just discovered that the 18-year-old adventurer who loved to drive never left. Seems he's just been snoozing for the last, 20 years. And his new Q45 just woke him up. Without acne. Infiniti makes you want to take up driving again, doesn't it?
From this day on, every Domino's pizza will be better than ever.
More melted cheese, big better toppings, tender, tastier crust. More melted cheese, big better toppings, tender, tastier crust.
Every fresh-made Domino's pizza better than ever, now and forever.
Nobody knows like Domino's how you want. They're tasty, young girl.
Try a medium with unlimited toppings, now just $9.99.
Nighttime, one of the worst times for pain. That's why you need new Ultra Strength Bengay with more pain relievers than we've ever had. Fast relief for muscle aches and minor arthritis pain. With new Ultra Strength Bengay, you can say goodnight to your pain.
Prime time. Undercover. How cops use crooks to catch other crooks and sometimes get burned. Prime time, Thursday.
Finally this evening from the Olympics, the story of a man who virtually demands to be noticed. It is true, of course, that every world-class athlete, even those in the most obscure sports, stands out from the crowd somewhere. ABC's Dick Schaap has come across a young American athlete who surely would stand out almost anywhere.
If playing to the camera were an Olympic sport, Christopher Bowman would be a cinch for a gold medal. The U.S. figure skating champion never met a camera he didn't like.
Hey. Hello. How are you?
His words are also calculated to get attention.
I got really schnockered. I blew it in the short program. I was just hornswoggled.
What are my chances? 1,000,000 to 1.
I certainly don't consider myself a jock whatsoever. I mean, I look in the mirror sometimes and it's like I have to hold back the tears. You have to understand, work is exactly what it is, a four-letter word. You see a lot of athletes like belly up in the bathroom after, competitions and stuff, this type of thing, and I don't want to wind up in the straitjacket going off with the guy with the butterfly nets.
Christopher Bowman isn't crazy. He's just Bowman the Showman, or Hans Brinker from Hell, nicknames he has given himself. Bowman is an actor in press conferences, on the ice, and even on the screen. Born in Hollywood, he often appeared as a child in Little House on the Prairie. He is also a remarkable skater, a contender for a medal, but not a favorite.
If this kid ever sat down and worked for 11 months a year, nobody would be able to touch him.
Let's stop right there.
Bowman's work ethic has never matched his play ethic.
That jump is not acceptable, right?
He is on his third coach in a year, John Nix. Nix knows that Bowman's practice sessions only hint at his ability.
Whenever those TV cameras come into the ice rink, you see a different young man. Whenever those judges are on the side, you see a different young man.
Bowman certainly is a different young man. How would he sum up his skating career?
He loved it, he did it, why? And if it's not Mexico and it's not new, why do they call it New Mexico?
Hans Brinker from Hell and Hollywood.
That would be it.
Dick Schaap, ABC News, Albertville.
And that's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Tuesday, TV's top comics go back to high school.
I am declaring today a holiday.
Roseanne Arnold.
I know you guys cheat.
Bill Cosby. Burt Reynolds. Tom Arnold. And Howie Mandel.
If I knew there was going to be a podium, I wouldn't have worn pants.
In an all-new special. Tuesday at 10, 9 Central.
What do you say? What do you say?
Burger King talked to some smart shoppers.
You gotta smell a bargain. It's not the bargain, it's the hunt.
For just 99 cents at Burger King, you smart shoppers can get a different delicious entree every day of the week. Buy a medium fries or onion rings and a medium drink and get a mouth-watering entree for only 99 cents.
If it looks good and it fits, it's a bargain.
I snip them out and take them home. Go away, right away, at Burger King now.
When she was 7, she discovered she had a talent. When she was 9, she knew she had a gift. A gift Coca-Cola supports by sponsoring national Olympic teams in 154 countries around the world. The gift we celebrate has the Olympic spirit.
Can't beat the real thing.
Amazing Blue Star ointment stops itching fast. Jock itch, ringworm, psoriasis, athlete's foot, and